also, a couple years ago, initiated a lawsuit to try and have, Kirk, you can maybe help me with the terminology a little better, but for those decisions to come before the Board of County Commissioners and have those as local decisions rather than the Public Service Commission, we have an opportunity to be present, either the commissioners or possibly send a staff member to represent the commissioners. I was asked if the commissioners would want to offer an opinion, a suggestion. We don't have a vote, but we certainly have a voice, and should we act on behalf of our citizens? I would like to, and just wondering what my fellow commissioners thought. That this public hearing does take place tomorrow, is that correct?
Okay, you'd like to attend and our representative?
Well, I would like the commissioners to take a position. Anyone who wants to attend, we can attend. We sent a letter earlier this year that we would like to be a part of that hearing. Now's the time for us to be a part of that hearing. If the commissioners can't make it, maybe we could send staff members to, help serve in our stead.
I can't make it, but I fully oppose the project.
Okay. I do as well.
Yeah.
And
do we need to have a letter?
Would it be appropriate if we could write a letter and ask that to go in the public record with the Public Service Commission?
All right,
I also have an obligation tomorrow as well, but.
Would you like a consensus on the letter that we oppose? Would you like us to decide that?
I think he wants all of our positions. I oppose it, and I'm okay with both county commissioner.
Yeah, I agree writing a letter to oppose it. Okay.
And also staff representation. I have no problem with staff being representative of the county commissioners' positions. I also oppose it, and I also don't have any problem with the county commissioners being listening in on the
what
meeting.
time is the meeting?
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
And location?
It's on Zoom.
It's Zoom meeting.
It'll be
Zoom.
virtual.
Okay. We can get I think all 5 of us oppose it. We're talking about the Cedar Falls area,
Yeah.
correct? That one there. Yeah, I'm okay with the letter and representation. So could we get the letter done by today to get it in? Is that what we need?
I would be able to make the Zoom meeting but I'd probably be about 15 minutes late. I also agree that a letter should be put in.
What are the grounds for the opposition to include in the letter?
Mine would be the evaluation of property. That would, just that, disruption of the scenery, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's.
I don't think it's, again, maybe you can help with the terminology, but it's a largely residential area.
Right.
That the solar panels would go in the smack dab center of a residential area. Is that appropriate to best?
If this is
proper use?
The one that I remember, because there's a couple of these solar things. But is this the one that in the plan they did not put in the structures for the high power lines going from that to the actual grid?
No, that's one over in Leitersburg.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one. Sorry.
Okay. Why don't we draft a letter before today's over and commissioners approve the language, okay? And then we'll get that in.
And Kirk, I know we've discussed this before. Maybe you can look back and possibly come up with some other thoughts as to the reasons that we oppose it. Okay. I can't, like I said, I didn't know Wayne was going to bring this up this morning, so I'm not. I know we had some other grounds of and reasons that we're opposing it. I just can't remember what they were.
Yeah, we'll put something together and get it.
Okay, we'll get that done today. Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Wayne, anything else?
That's all.
All right, Commissioner Smith,
No comments at this point.
Commissioner Wagner.
Well, I hope everybody had a good Labor Day holiday over. I didn't do a whole lot actually. I attended the Pooch Plunge out at Marty Snook's halfway park. It's sort of funny because I was standing there talking to actually Jeff and Kelly Tracy, who's chairperson or the president of the Humane Society, and I had shorts on. Dog come up and cocked his leg and peed on me. So.
Oh my, that's in the historical record. Yeah.
So with that being said, after that, all the dogs came up and was sniffing my leg the rest of the time. So that's about the most exciting thing that happened to me in the last week or two. But that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. One of the things I'd like to report, Senator Quarterman initiated a conversation with me, and all the commissioners agreed about writing a letter to the governor to make the Maryland Theater exempt from the 100-person capacity. And I have a copy of the letter here that was sent in by Chairman Wyville and the county commissioners in approval for that support. The Maryland Theater has a $7 million investment from the state of Maryland, with approximately over $20+ million of investment from all kinds of entities, from the school board and private business to the city of Hagerstown. $25–30 million of economic development setting there to wait, and only to have 100 people to be in that theater at one time for a performance needs to be reviewed. And we graciously and respectfully ask the governor and staff to review that capacity, perhaps making it up to 50%. Downtown Hagerstown is an important, viable opportunity for economic development, not just for Hagerstown, but for all the county. But maybe perhaps more important, or as important, is the tradition of Christmas in Washington County with the Maryland Theater, with all the programs that participate there and help our community making it being a better place. So just wanted to announce, to make sure that everybody knew that letter had been mailed in cooperation with Senator Quarterman and the delegation and the county commissioners. So thank everyone for supporting the Maryland Theater. And that concludes my report. Next, staff comments. Please come forward, introduce yourself and the matter. My glasses are fogged up.
Good morning, Susan Buchanan, Director of Grant Management. I'm here this morning to announce 2 recent hotel rental tax awards. The first was made to the Cumberland Valley Athletic Club, and that's for the annual JFK 50-mile ultra marathon event. That is coming up on November 21st, 2020, and they were awarded up to $10,000 to assist with the cost of the Washington County Sheriff's Office overtime. In addition, an award was approved for $5,000 to assist the Maryland Theater Association with the event cost of the Crumpy's Donut Drop. That will be held on December 31st, 2020. The event is offered at no charge and historically attracts up to 6,000 attendees. Both events meet all 7 goals of the program and have been assisted historically through the fund. This is just for informational purposes this morning because it's under the threshold for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Continue with staff comments. Okay, Krista.
I have several board appointments requests. I have the Washington County Plumbing and Mechanical Board wishing to reappoint Charlie Simler to serve as a member of the building industry for a 5th 3-year term through January 31st, 2020. Also accept the recommendation to reappoint Arnold Eby as the member at large to serve a 5th 3-year term through January 31st, 2023. Accept the recommendation to reappoint Brian Hanna as the master plumber through July 31st, 2023. And to accept the recommendation to reappoint William Vance to serve through July 31st, 2023.
I motion to approve as stated.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have the Emergency Services Advisory Council wishing to accept the recommendation to appoint Roger Otzelberger to serve as the Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association representative through August 31st, 2023. To reappoint Ron Horn to serve as Commissioner Klein's representative through August 31st, 2023. And to appoint Mr. Tim Amons to serve a first 3-year term as a citizen at large through August 31st, 2023.
Is there a motion? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? First and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
One more. Washington County Mental Health Authority is wishing to reappoint Rita Bratcher to serve a second 3-year term as a consumer representative through August 31st, 2023. and to reappoint Jennifer Lowry to serve a fourth three-year term through September 30th, 2023. And upon the approval to reappoint Ms. Lowry, we are requesting that you grant an exception to the two-term limit as outlined in the bylaws.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's all.
Any other staff comments? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the first agenda item, 9/11 Remembrance Proclamation. Gentlemen, please come forward, state your names.
Okay to remove the mask for this?
Yeah.
Ask Earl.
Earl's frowning.
Good morning. David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services.
Dale Fishak, President of Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association.
Commissioners, we're here today to recognize what is Patriots Day. It's recognized annually. It's on September the 11th, and it commemorates the events, the unfortunate events of September 11th, 2001. Unfortunately for Washington County, the last 2 years we've not been able to hold the formal ceremony. Last year we lost the opportunity due to the heavy rainfalls that were befalling our area, and this year, obviously due to COVID-19, we felt it was not best to have the normal ceremony in City Park. So we're here today to make sure that we don't forget. We promised September the 12th, 2001 that we'd never forget those events, and I'm hopeful that the world and certainly the country that we live in continues to be reminded daily of what those events did to our country and what they did as a result in bringing our country together in unity. And certainly this time, as much as any other time in our nation's history, is an opportunity to reflect back on September the 11th, 2001, and then September the 12th. I saw a Facebook post that I thought was most fitting while they never want to see another September 11th, they wish we could have another September 12th where the nation came together in true unity and we worked as one to make sure that this remains the greatest nation in the world. I'm proud of the law enforcement, the firefighters, the paramedics, and EMTs that serve our communities every day and make sure that we are prepared to cover not just the events of September the 11th, but the events that occur on any given day of any given year. Our volunteers stand strong. We certainly have career firefighters and EMTs and paramedics that stand beside those, and without question our law enforcement community here in Washington County, throughout the state and throughout the United States is strong and certainly meet challenges in a given day. So with that, we're happy to be a part of the public service community, and I'll let President Fishak have a minute here to address the group, and that's really where we're at. Thank you.
So we just echo Director Hayes' comments and ask you all to remember back to that day. It's a day that I don't think any of us will ever forget. I remember my parents talking about when JFK was shot, a day they would never forget, and the way the nation came together. And same thing happened here during September 11th, 2001. I'd just like to share a short, brief story about that day for me. I was a very young career fire chief in his 20s and was called to the city manager's office asking us how we can be prepared. I was probably as scared as I could ever be. I thought I was prepared for anything that could ever come my way. And that day we were forced to make decisions and take actions that we never thought we would have to in the first responder world. From that day forth, it changed the way first responders worked, and that continues to change, and brought us to the forefront of being the hometown first responders, truly, of the first line of preparedness. And the unity that happened after that day, I echo with what Director Hayes said in the Facebook post. It would be great if we all could come back to September 12th and be one united group again. I think it will always be what we look back to as we look to the way the first responders can make a difference in their community and do stand and face whatever they're presented. Whether we're volunteer or career, we're one united group to take on the challenges like we did that day 19 years ago. So we're here to never forget, and I hope we will never forget, and I hope it always helps to push us and excel us forward to be better providers and better responders.
Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioners, any comments or thoughts of your experience, memories of 9/11?
No, just to share what you all just said, 2 days that I always remember is JFK and 9/11. So that proves I'm old enough to remember JFK. I was on a school bus and at a Catholic school up here, St. Mary's, and of course JFK was a Catholic, so all the nuns back then, when there was nuns, you know, they were all really upset and crying. So I can remember that pretty vividly. So.
Without question.
Commissioners, any comments before we? Okay. Gentlemen, would you join me up here at the flag?
I didn't know if he was referring to us.
Yeah, I think I like that.
We'll just do the picture.
On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and the citizens of Washington County, the National Day of Service and Remembrance, September 2020. Whereas September 11, 2001, many Americans faced both an indescribable tragedy and extraordinary challenge. And whereas all citizens of our country came together to pray for those whose lives were forever changed by the loss of a loved one. And whereas we strengthened our resolve to stand together as a nation. And whereas the strength of our nation may have been tested in New York City, Washington, D.C., and near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, but our resilience never failed. And whereas our gratitude is given to the first responders of all the heroes who took action and saved so many lives, their service will never be forgotten. Now therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, do hereby recognize the month September 2020 as National Day of Service and Remembrance in Washington County, and do commend this observance to all of our citizens. Thank you very much for the service of all. Thank you. And Commissioners, may we get a picture with these gentlemen here up front? Next on our agenda, establishing one entity in Washington County as the local authority for behavioral health service. Rick Rock, Earl Stoner, Vicki, please come forward, introduce yourself and the matter.
Earl Stoner, Health Officer.
Rick Rock, Washington County Mental Health Authority.
Vicki Sterling, Director of Behavioral Health, Washington County Health Department.
Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. What we're here to talk about is moving toward a single entity as the local authority for behavioral health services in Washington County. As part of the attachment, I hope you have this, it's a brief schematic that I drew about the configuration of services of the authorities here in the county. One thing I omitted, under the Maryland Department of Health, back in 2014, the they combined the Mental Hygiene Administration and the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Administrations into the Behavioral Health Administration to integrate those services under one entity. So what we're looking at is, at the local level, doing the same thing. The Behavioral Health Administration wants each jurisdiction to move toward a single entity of authority over both the mental health and substance use services, and combining that into behavioral health services for the local county. So Mr. Stoner is the health officer of the Washington County Health Department. As Vicki mentioned, she is the local addiction authority. In my office, the Washington County Mental Health Authority, or the core service agency for Washington County, is the mental health authority. So what we were looking at is to have a community work group to make a decision, a recommendation to you as the county commissioners to identify what that local behavioral health authority will look like here for the county. So there are, this has been done in other jurisdictions or other counties in the state, and there are different kinds of configurations as to what that looks like. Most of the counties have moved the local authority into a health department to where it's the local behavioral health authority. And whether that happens here remains to be seen, but there are some different configurations as well. So we ask that, well, let me just say this too. My board, the Mental Health Authority Board, has been designated as the Mental Health Advisory Committee, excuse me, the Mental Health Advisory Committee for the county. So my board would be a participant as part of that community work group. And Earl, you want to talk about your group? Vicki?
Vicki as the.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, we would definitely be a part of that group also.
Yeah.
My clinical and my operations director. And Rick and I have participated in the state integration workshops. And we have to submit a plan each year to the state where we are and what phase we're in integration.
So what I'm seeing here on your flow chart, it would all end up down at the Local Behavioral Health Authority, LBHA.
Correct.
And on the way down to that, is there, I'm just assuming there's already these committees with X amount of people in them.
There are, on our board, yes, we have a certain number of people on our board, which serves as the Mental Health Advisory Committee for the county. And I assume that there's a Substance Use Advisory Committee as well for.
And I guess my
Right.
question is, when you come down there, well, how would you restructure with all these people down to these people?
Well, what we'd be looking at is for that community work group to come together with a consensus about where that local behavioral health authority would be located and what that would look like.
Would it be a private nonprofit, or would it then fall under the state health department?
How many people you're looking at for this work group? Because my theory, I think it's a great idea, but if you put 20, 30 people in the group, then nothing's ever gonna get done. So I mean, how many are you looking at for this group?
I would also point out we have the advisory
Health
board to
Advisory
you
Board.
guys that that would be the central sort of like committee, or have an ad hoc committee off of that with representatives from the various groups on the ad hoc committee that's basically kind of like centralized with the advisory.
So yeah,
health
I
that
didn't
you
see
are.
the advisory board in here. And back to Court's question, what do you foresee the total amount of people on the LBHA?
Yeah, I have 9 people on my board.
Okay.
And I threw it out to them whether they wanted to designate certain people as representatives to this committee. And they left it that they would like to all be participants in it.
Gotcha.
If, unless there's another comment, I think this is it's a great idea, but I would like this to come back with a recommendation for who should be on this committee, how many people on the committee, and where they should come from, so that we can look at that and say, if it's an ad hoc committee that's an offshoot that's 7 people big, whatever it is, and these are the members that's gonna be made of, if it's 2 representatives from year, 2 representatives from year 2, and then a community person, that's kind of what I would look at. I don't think you all need to come back in for that, but that's what I would like to see for what this work group is gonna be done, and then even possibly a time frame of when the work group starts to when this should be done by, so that we know that this is gonna be done. I think it's a great idea. I would just like to see one step further.
We can do that.
If we said, you know, and I tend to agree with what Court just said, if we said, if you're looking today for, so many of us or all of us or some of us approved, then I think that'd be the natural next step, wouldn't you? You come back in with more?
Yes.
More.
Yeah. We're looking
more
for a
organization.
recommendation to create the community work group, and then we can get together to define what that looks like, who the participants will be, and we'll come back and ask for that approval from you guys again.
So you're just looking for, do we agree with your concept?
We're basically looking for consensus
Yeah.
from the commissioners to move forward with the community group.
I'm fine with the plan. More information for the commissioners would be helpful. I'd like to know a little bit more about fiscal impact, unknown at this time. Would there be a need to hire a staff? It sounds like, as presented, the members are volunteer. Would a staff be needed? What might that entail? And just from a budgetary, is that something the county covers? Is that something the state covers? Is that through grants? How would that be funded?
Yeah, currently, my office has 3 full-time and 2 part-time people. And those are, all that's paid through by grants from the Behavioral Health Administration. So the reason I wrote that it was unknown at this time, I'm not sure, you know, what that configuration will look like at that point. But, you know, I think there's existing infrastructures in the community at the health department that could provide the fiscal oversight, financial mechanics to operate the local behavioral health authority. So there are existing structures in place, but I don't know what that, we don't know what that will look like. But I think the financial impact would be pretty minimal. My office doesn't get any money from the county to operate. We're strictly funded through the state grant fund, and I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
but,
the local addiction authority is straight grant funded through the state.
I don't see any fiscal impact to the county itself.
I guess the only thing, and we've discussed this before, is if the state decides that they're going to funnel the money through one source, then we would be financially impacted as the health department because we would have to have oversight of the grant if we don't integrate.
But we could flesh that out.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing commissioners want you to come back with more information. Is that what I'm seeing agreement on?
Yeah, I think
Are we okay with this, or?
we're okay with the idea of establishing a committee, but we just wanna know what that committee is gonna be made of in the time frame and, you know, who's gonna participate.
Yeah, and I'd like to see where the Health Advisory Committee fits in on all this.
Okay. All right, but thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next, executive order payroll, county commissioners, Washington County taxable refunding bonds, authorizing resolution. Lindsay Rader, Sarah. Thank you, folks. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nice to see you all. Good
morning. Sorry. Good morning, Commissioners. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer, here with Lindsay Rader, bond counsel for us. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Lindsay, to make the presentation for the resolution.
Okay. Good morning. If you think back to May and the resolution that you all adopted for the public improvement bonds and the refunding bonds that were issued in June of this year, this resolution is very, very similar. The difference is that we are only looking to do one series of refunding bonds now. The county's financial advisor, Davenport & Company, has identified the outstanding callable maturities of the public improvement bonds of 2011 and the public improvement bonds of 2012 as candidates eligible for an advance refunding, which means we won't pay off those bonds from refunding bond proceeds until more than 90 days after the refunding bonds are issued, in an effort to achieve debt service savings for the county. The federal tax code was amended several years ago, and tax-exempt advance refundings were done away with. So these bonds will have to be issued on a taxable basis for federal income tax purposes. If the market were to move and we were not able to achieve debt service savings, I think we would postpone or cancel the refunding entirely if you vote to proceed to adopt this resolution.
They will be state tax.
They will be state tax-free, federally taxable, correct. The resolution has an assumed maximum, or an assumed principal amount of $19,675,000. But as is always the case with refunding bonds, we have the resolution authorize an amount above that in case the market moves between now and when we sell the bonds. And the maximum authorized amount is $22 million. That will be used to cover costs of issuance as well as advance refunding the callable maturities. Flexibility is set forth in the resolution to determine to refund only a portion of each of the callable maturities of the series in order to achieve debt service savings, or all, or to drop one of the series of refundable bonds entirely, all of which will be determined prior to or at the sale of the bonds. As was the case with the spring sale, the resolution authorizes the chief financial officer to make adjustments to the amortization schedule both pre and post sale, to make any adjustments to the bid specifications to account for market movement and changes in the market, and to determine the bonds to be refunded. All of that will be done by an order executed by her at shortly after the sale. The resolution approves the draft of the preliminary official statement that has been provided to you and authorizes its finalization and posting. It approves the substantially final form of the bond. It provides for a bond registrar and paying agent, an escrow agent, a verification consultant, and most importantly, it pledges the county's full faith and credit and unlimited taxing power to payment of these bonds. Currently, the schedule calls for the sale to be held on September 30th and for closing to occur on October 14th.
What's the expected interest rate?
I have the anticipated budgetary savings in front of me of approximately 1.5 million depending on the market. 1 million related to the 2011 bonds and 500,000 related to the 2012 bonds. Up here, it looks like the assumption of the interest rate, 1.5%.
That may be, yeah.
Based on this information I have.
And I think that information is from August, unless it's been updated for
That's
you.
correct.
Yeah, so.
So it could
again,
vary.
Yes.
It could vary, for sure.
No, it's just, the reason why I wanted to point that out is because some of these interest rates that we're refunding, you know, are 4 1/8, 4%. There's a couple that are in the 3s, but it's basically think about refinancing your house to a 50% interest rate. So it's a great deal. So
Yeah, exactly.
Commissioners, questions?
So I make a motion. I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
First and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll clean your area off.
I'll clean while you're talking.
Okay. I'm up next, so don't be alarmed.
Sarah, welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer, here to present to you the executive order for the payroll tax deferral discussion. We would like to have the board make a final determination on whether or not the county should participate in the payroll tax deferral program. For some background, there are limitations on eligibility for this program. Not all employees would be eligible. It is limited to those who make less than $4,000 biweekly, which would include the majority of our employees probably. We would have to evaluate the pay periods each biweekly period, because we may have a situation where a certain employee would work overtime. It may push them over that $4,000 amount, and in that case, they would not be eligible for that pay period, but then they may be eligible for subsequent pay periods. So that would be something that may vary from pay period to pay period. The tax that would be allowed to be deferred would be 6.2%. It would be the Social Security tax that is currently withheld, and that would be for a period through December 30th of 2020. The payback period for this deferred tax would then begin in January and go through the end of April. Now, there are a couple things with the payback. Certainly, it's assumed that the payback period, the percentage of tax would be double the 6.2, so it would be the 12.4% that would be withheld from the employee's paycheck. There could be situations, though, where an employee may actually pay back the deferred amount ahead of schedule, or they may have a balance to pay back at the end of April. That could occur because employees may work overtime in the later months of this year. That's for the deferred period. So there would be a higher level of deferred amount of tax that would need to be paid back if they did not work the same amount of overtime in the first 4 months of 2021. So this would need to be tracked per pay, both on the deferral side and then on the repayment side as well.
So Sarah, can I interrupt here while I have this?
Sure.
So if an employee, or if we elect to give the employees the opportunity to defer, they're gonna have to pay it back at some point in time, so you either pay it now or you pay it later?
That's correct. Currently, that's how that's written.
How long does that, what's the time frame for that? Just curious.
For the payback?
Yeah, no, yeah, for the whole program, like.
Everything has to be paid back by May 1st. So the employer is actually the person responsible for paying the tax.
So if the employee leaves, we pay it back?
Yes, unless we can collect
The
it from the
citizen,
employee.
the taxpayers pay that money back if the employee's not here anymore.
It would be an obligation of
So
the
they
county.
wouldn't go after that employee and try to get the money.
It may be too costly. It kind of depends how much is owed. Yeah, there would be.
Sarah, my understanding is federal employees are required to participate in this program. Or have you heard the same thing? Is that a true?
I have not heard that.
And that it's possible, and what the president is also proposing is that this tax deferment will ultimately be forgiven, so it won't be paid in the end. And I know there's some talks about that, and I'm just wondering, is that something that we could lose out on our employees if that is forgiven?
I don't think that that's something that
Like
we
it's
would actually
being asked.
lose out on, because if they did decide to forgive it, they would have to provide a way for us to get a refund for the taxes that were paid in, and we would be able to then distribute that to our employees.
No, I think just for that, they would make my understanding, maybe we could reach out. I don't necessarily think our federal legislators would be helpful in giving an accurate picture here, but my understanding is just that those who are participating in the federal payroll tax deferral, that amount would be forgiven come January 1st or 2nd, whenever the monies would have to be repaid. So those who participated in the paid tax deferral in these next few weeks and months ahead, they're collecting a larger paycheck, and the assumption is, and again, it's an assumption, that money would be forgiven and they would not have to pay that back pending legislation at the federal level. And my thinking is, and what I've been told by some employees, and some employees have a spouse that, they were impacted by the COVID and their income decreased drastically, so it would be a benefit to them. But if that is forgiven, and if it is true that federal employees are required to participate, well, it's a pretty good chance federal government's going to vote to forgive that tax deferral for that time period. So in essence, if we didn't participate, there is an opportunity, the way I see it, the way my mind reads it, there is an opportunity if we didn't participate, our employees could lose out. I think we need to know a little bit more information about this, actually.
There's not a lot of information that's been provided.
So I know I did this with my own employees in my company, and it was the same thing. Our accountants came up with the same brief, is that if we don't take it now, and then come January and it's forgiven, then they're going to get that money, but in a lump sum instead of over a course of 3 months. If it's not forgiven, or if we did take it, we did take the tax deferral, and then come January and they don't forgive it, then they're going to have to owe that money back. So if they do end up making this a permanent, and so it's actually relieved, they're still going to get the money. It's just going to be later down the road instead of over a course of 3 months. And that, to me, is I think the safer way for the employees and the safer way for the county, because it's what Commissioner Wagner said, is if and this is another thing that they've all said, is if the employee leaves during that time period, during this 3-month time period, we're on the hook for the money. We've got to pay it back if it's not forgiven, and then we would have to go after the ex-employee to find their $75 in taxes, or whatever that individual, the $200, whatever that number is that they missed out, that we would have to go after that, because the feds aren't. They're going to say, hey, Washington County, you owe it.
I appreciate that understanding. I would agree with that. I would just say, please never underestimate how important $200 could be to someone, though. But I agree with what you said.
No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that if this is forgiven come January, February, March, instead of getting $200 for 2 months, they're gonna get the $600 all at once.
Yeah, and
That's,
go ahead.
that's my thought. This is, no matter what, if this is forgiven or if it's not, the individual's still gonna end up with the money. It could be January or February, possibly, that they get it. The next component that that no one's brought up is this, since this is the Social Security match, is there, and I guess this is a rhetorical question because I already know the answer, but the 6.2% that the employees have to match onto that Social Security, what is being done with that?
Well, us as an employer, we're gonna pay our 6.2.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Is it true that it's all or none?
Employees.
Yes, I mean, it's unclear. So that goes into,
so-
you know, what is clear with the language
So
that's
if
been
it's all or
provided.
none, that means
Because
me,
us as an employer would be making
me
the
or
decision.
him or any of those sitting out there are gonna have that forgiven, or not forgiven,
Deferred.
but deferred. So you know, and I'm speaking for me, I'm just gonna spend it. Then I'm gonna have to, if it's not forgiven, every employee will have to pay that back, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I can't go for that, no.
All right, what I'm hearing is,
Final
if we
determination.
don't do this and it's forgiven later next year, the employees still get the money.
Yes.
I would go with that option. I can't support it at this time. Is there any motion or?
And we have to do this for every employee. You can't just do it for the ones that wanna opt in.
The IRS guidance does not specify whether or not an individual can opt out. So it's suggested that from a practical standpoint and in light of the program's timing, employers that choose to implement the program should cover all of their employees. That's the information I have. Unfortunately, it's not.
Have you had many county employees, have you had any conversations or many conversations with employees here in the county?
I have heard employees speak out that they did not want to defer because of the hardship that it would cause in January with the payback. That's my experience.
I'd motion to oppose that,
Not to participate?
not to participate, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor not to participate, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, intergovernment cooperative purchase of 9/20/21 Ford Police Interceptors. Please come forward and introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brandy Nagelbauer in the Purchasing Department.
Good morning.
Sergeant Matheny, Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Morning.
The recommendation I have for you this morning is for the intergovernmental cooperative purchase, INGT 20-0045, for 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles for the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Move to authorize by resolution for the Washington County Sheriff's Office to purchase 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles from Heritage Fleet out of Milford, Delaware. The cost of 8 vehicles per each would be $33,693. One vehicle for the K-9 unit would cost $34,303. The total for all 9 vehicles would be $303,847. We also asked to approve the use of the State of Maryland's contract for this purchase. The Code of Public Law of Washington County does provide that the Board of County Commissioners may procure goods and services through a contract entered into by another government entity. The cost savings that the county would get with this is tremendous due to the economies of scale set forth in this contract. And I don't believe an independent bid would give us a better savings than we're getting. The funds were budgeted in the Sheriff's Capital Improvement Plan.
I remember a couple of months ago, I don't know if it was 6-9 months ago, everything's kind of a blur right now, but we came in, we bought a couple of these, and some of them were hybrids, and the others weren't. You guys were thought was to see if they did a cost savings.
We still haven't got the hybrids yet.
Okay, that was my, because I guess coming back in and not having any of the hybrids, that was just my
Right.
question, if we saw any cost savings on that at all. Thank you. Do you know when they're coming in?
One of them was supposed to be built in July, and it's still not here, so your guess is as good as ours right now.
I understand.
I'd motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, intergovernment cooperative purchase of ammunition. Rick Curry. Gentlemen, please introduce yourself in the matter. Thank you.
Good morning, Rich Perry, Director of Purchasing.
Captain Mark Knight, Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
Subject before you is intergovernmental cooperative purchase of ammunition for the Washington County Sheriff Department. On the RF, it's listed as INTG-20-46, which would be the last two digits. Recommend motion is to move the authorized resolution to approve a purchase of 194 cases of ammunition from Atlantic Tactical of New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. As you can see in the RF, it's broke down per case, the price per case. With a total case price for 194 cases of ammunition would be $60,000, $127.24. With the purchase will be accomplished by using the state of Maryland's contract number 001B 9400318 in accordance with the terms and conditions of that contract. The Code of Public Laws does allow for this board to purchase under another contract that was competitively bidded by another jurisdiction, and there is a cost savings for us not participating in a bid process to purchase this ammunition, and funds our budget in the department's FY21 budget, operating budget, as you can see listed in the ARF, and we have concurrences from the Sheriff's Department. And you also have a copy of the state contract along with the information on the ARF. And that concludes my recommendation for the ammunition.
How much ammunition in a case?
It all depends on what you get. Some cases are 1,000 rounds per case, some are 200 rounds per case. And pistol ammo is usually about 500 rounds a case.
Okay.
Daggone, can we get in on that?
Certainly.
Hey, I was just kidding, anybody listening. No.
I'm sure you have your stock.
Email.
I'm sure you're stocked up.
Commissioners'
I tried to
comments, motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, cooperative purchase, room decontamination. Rick Curry, please introduce the matter.
Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Good morning, Sean Hartsock, Captain with Division of Emergency Services.
Good morning.
Subject before you is intergovernmental cooperative purchase. Need to make a correction on the ID number. It should be INTG-20-0048 for aeroclave room decontamination system for Division of Emergency Services. Recommended motion to move by authorize a resolution, the intergovernmental cooperative purchase of 9 aeroclave room decontamination systems as listed as a model number also for a total cost of $149,058 from Aeroclave LLC of Winter Park, Florida, and to utilize another jurisdiction's contract was awarded by the Houston Galveston Area Council, contract number EP11-17. There's a description of what the aeroclave will do as far as the decontaminating the ambulances when they're used for transporting patients. And the Code of Public Laws does allow for this board to participate in this purchase because these airplanes were competitively bidded and awarded to various companies through HGAC. There is no fiscal impact at this time. The airplanes will be paid through from the CARES Act account. And you also have the attachment from Aeroclave LLC dated and attached to the ARF. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, purchase of one new 35-ton dump truck. Rick Curry, Dave Mason, please come forward, introduce yourself.
Again, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Dave Mason, Deputy Director, Solid Waste. Before
you is intergovernmental cooperative purchase for a 35-ton dump truck. ITNG 20-0039 for the solid waste. It's a lease purchase and a trade-in. Recommended motion move to authorize relation to approval of purchase of one new 35-ton articulated dump truck from Carter Machinery Company Incorporated, Baltimore, Maryland, and to utilize another jurisdiction's contract, which was awarded by Sourcewell, which was formerly National Joint Powers Alliance, to Caterpillar Incorporated and contingent on a final lease agreement by the County Attorney's Office. You can see in the ARF there, it shows the vendor and the bid amount and the annual payment. That annual payment needs to be corrected. It's showing that it's $170,820.66 per year. The actual payment is $101,924 even. That's after the trade-in. The Code of Public Laws does allow for the board to enter into a contract that was competitively bidded by another jurisdiction. That's what we're asking to do here. Funds in the amount of $350,000 is budgeted in department's FY21 budget for the leasing of this equipment, and we have concurrence from the Division Director of Environmental Management, and also you have a copy of the state contract attached to the ARF. State contract should be the allowance contract, should be Sourcewell.
So we've got $350,000 budgeted for this, and what was the total payment? Was
$101,924.
Okay, that's okay. So is this going to carry over every year for 3 years, or are we just taking this out from a purchase for something else?
He's got the budget for his payments.
No, we have lease payments within the budget right now that covers the excavator, the dump truck, and the dozer. So this is the third of the three pieces that we were leasing. So everything's covered in the current budget.
So future payments are already covered?
Well, with the approval of the budget each year. Yeah, $350,000 is lease payments for this fiscal year.
And so then next year,
he's going to submit
his
budget.
You'd submit
the budget again, and
okay. So of this 350, we're now down to 240 ERGs.
Well, with the other two pieces.
The other two pieces that were approved.
With the excavator and the dump, or the dozer that was approved last week.
Yep.
Week before. We're at 350.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to figure out. Is I knew there was other stuff, so we're not at 350 now. Currently, this is going to eat up that lease thing. We have no more money available.
Between the three pieces, that covers the $350,000.
Perfect. That's what I was trying to make sure. Thank you. I make the motion to approve.
Is there a second? Have a second, first and second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Boggs, Draper Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
So we have the Draper, Philip M. Draper CREP easement project. This is 67.62 acres on Kiefer Road in Big Pool. We're going to protect about 11 and a half acres of woodland, 54 acres of hayland, and additionally there's going to be a 2.51 acre building envelope around the existing dwelling. So that the dwelling area itself is not affected by the heavy restrictions that the easement will put on it, on the property. This easement itself will serve to buffer about 6,600 feet of lanes run and a couple of its tributaries there on the property. So a beautiful property there in Big Pool. It's really ideal for this program. And so over the years, we've been able, through the CREP program, to preserve over 1,100 acres of land. After this year, we're going to bump that up several hundred acres, maybe 1,000 or so. We've got quite a few of these in the hopper, as you probably recall. So just like all the other previous years, FY21, the state takes these CREP easement projects on a project-by-project basis. So it's not grant funded, they just have the money and I ask them if I can spend it. It's 100% state dollars, and just like our Rural Legacy program, we'll get 1.5% of the easement value for compliance and 3% for administrative costs. DNR does support the program here in Washington County. And of course, as always, if we turn down this easement, they will allocate the money to another county in the state. The recommended motion is to approve the Philip M. Draper CREP easement project, 67.62 easement acres for $213,642.19. Any questions?
Move to approve the Philip M.
Second.
Draper CREP easement project.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chris Boggs.
Thank you.
Next up, FY21 Opioid Operational Command Center Grant. Rebecca. Welcome. And good morning. Introduce yourself and the matter, please.
Allison Hartshorn,
Thank
Grant
you.
Manager, Office of Grant Management. Joining me.
Rebecca Hogemeyer, Program Director for the Day Reporting Center. Okay. So recommended motion, move to accept funds in the amount of $30,000 from the State of Maryland Opiate Operations Command Center, Operational Command Center. The Washington County Sheriff's Office requests funds from the Opiate Operational Command Center to supplement the cost of the global monitoring position, the GPS devices, portable breathalyzer monitoring devices, which are the SL2s, and rapid drug testing devices for the participants attending the Washington County Day Reporting Center. The grant funds will allow the DRC to meet the anticipated increase in demand in FY21 for these services, along with provided enhancement monitoring and testing procedures. The DRC is requesting $24,000 for GPS leasing, $6,000 for substance testing services, which are the testing devices, for a total grant request of $30,000. The Office of Grant Management has reviewed the grant guidelines and application. There is no match associated with the grant, and the grant will not result in new reoccurring expenses for the county. The grant's performance period is July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
I definitely support this, but I just have one quick question for you. The GPS, it says the DRC has requested $24,000 for the GPS leasing. Is that just a one-year lease?
It's a one-year lease, but what it is we lease by device.
Okay.
So depending on the participants, the number of participants, and what we're finding is that individuals go through the program, we leave it on while they're going through the program, they move into continuing care and they're at parole and probation, and they may have a positive drug test, and I'll put them back into the program, which means they have to go back on a GPS. Anybody that moves back from continuing care back into the phases 1 through 5 needs to go back on a GPS, so that's where the cost comes.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
Rebecca, a quick question, not necessarily related to this, but I personally haven't had a chance to speak with you since COVID started. Just wondering how that's impacted the Day Reporting Center. I know you were having some successes. Has the situation hampered, successes? How are your clients faring?
Well, I think the county commissioners would be very pleased to know that when everything else shut down across the county, we continued to provide services. We never lost a beat. I sent all the sub-vendors home and the community providers home, and I and the 3 remaining sheriff's office employees provided treatment. We never changed our service delivery, never lessened our drug testing. We went into the COVID stay-at-home mandate at 36 participants. We came out of the stay-at-home and returned. So we shut down, well, closed the facility in March 31st. And we returned the sub-vendors and the community providers on June 22nd, and we had 36 participants. We did see an increase in relapse, episodic. I had 2 individuals return to the detention center for 30 days. I got a warrant for 2 other individuals that were on parole and probation and returned those to the detention center. We made a couple referrals to inpatient, but if you're not aware, inpatient was not taking anybody. So we were working with those individuals, and once again, we have had no opiate overdoses. We're going into our 4th year, no opiate overdoses, and we experienced 1 in 4 years of alcohol-related ER admission. And I want to say that everybody remained employed. There was 100% employment during that period of time.
Very good. Okay,
How many have graduated out of there in the last year?
I would say probably 15.
Okay.
15.
And you had no positive COVID cases, right?
We had 1 positive COVID case. We did the trace, and I'm very pleased that I had that health department, 20 years, 30 years of health department public health background. We did the trace. We sent everybody for for COVID testing. None of those individuals tested positive that he came in contact with. There were like 10, and he just went on his own and had a test and came back positive, and then showed up at the facility before he knew the positive test. So our policy is, if you get a COVID test, you stay home and isolate until you get the test results. But he came back, and so I was a little worried that maybe we tested too soon. We retested everybody. They came back negative. And then I thought maybe he had a false positive. I retested him. He tested positive again. He was working at FedEx. And so we sent him home until he got a negative test. And we have had no other incidents, which isn't like amazing, but we have really strict protocols. We temp everybody coming in, everybody, including the providers and the community providers and sub-vendors. So it's been amazing that we've had contact the whole time with the participants, doing drug testing and individual and group sessions. We kept our sessions under 10 participants. We did social distancing in the groups. The facility allows for that. Thank God we have large group rooms.
I'd motion to accept the funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
A first and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Aye.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca, thank you. Congratulations on all that success.
Thank you.
Next up, Emergency Number Systems Board.
Brian Albert, Assistant Director of the 911 Center. I'm here today to request to request this money, and also it's kind of expeditious that we get this contract in place. So it's for the 911 telephone support, which is our 911 system, and that's basically a monitoring from Carousel Industries. They won the main contract for the next 5 years, and they will be putting in this system. The amount of the contract for the next, basically it's backdated July 1 of this year through June 30th. It'll take about May until we get this new system in place. So we need the support, and that amount is $258,030. And I went before the numbers board on August 27th and requested the funds, and they have awarded that if you guys approve it. So they have already awarded it, and there's no cost matching for the county, no cost to the county. It all comes from the emergency number system board.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? I have a first and a Court, did you second that?
Yes.
Okay, you have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yeah, aye.
Aye, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, approval of zoning map, RZ 20-001. Travis Allen, please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this is the final vote to adopt the ordinance to amend the official county zoning map relating to these 4 properties along Hopewell Road. As you recall, we had the public hearing on August 11th. We took a consensus vote on August 25th, which I think at that point Commissioners were generally in favor of it. And of course, we do have the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval as well. So here to take the final vote at this point.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Travis. Next up, employee vacation leave carryover, carryover, excuse me.
Good morning, Commissioners. Deborah Condo, Deputy Director of Human Resources. Here today to request for discussion of consideration of carryover of additional vacation leave hours for the employees due to COVID-19 and its effect on travel this year, as well as some employees not being able to take time off work due to the nature of their work. Employees are requesting that the county consider allowing additional vacation leave hours to carry over into 2021. Employees have expressed a concern that they will not be able to use their accrued vacation leave this calendar year due to the pandemic. Employees have reached out directly and indirectly through their managers and union representative to Human Resources to find out if the county will be allowing a carryover of additional vacation leave hours. Increasing the carryover cap will likely decrease absences prior to December 31st, 2020. I did request Budget and Finance if they could put together a fiscal impact. However, though we have about 230 employees that will have carryover hours that exceed the current 250 vacation leave carryover hours at the end of the year, the fiscal impact will vary since some departments may incur overtime costs related to an employee's absence while others will not. However, costs may increase later when time is actually taken or paid out when an employee departs employment from the county. Currently, we have projected as of December 31st, 227 employees that will have over 250 accrued hours. The average of those 227 employees, 309 hours, 309 point something is the average of
Like
those.
60 hours extra. They're carrying 60 hours probably.
On
basically.
average.
Do we have a policy now that they, is it a use it or lose it policy?
Yes.
Or they can't sell some of it back?
It's use it or lose it. Anything over the 250 is lost if they do not use it.
When's the last time we did the South County floods?
Last year.
Yeah, it was last year, wasn't it? Because of the flood?
When you say
I
use it,
don't
I'm
know.
sorry, Greg has answer first.
I believe Krista Hart's correct. It was year before last.
When you say use it or lose it,
That means if you don't use the time that you have, it automatically, the system will remove anything over 250. So if you had 275 hours, starting January 1 of 2021, under our current policy, 25 of those hours would just be removed.
What you get paid for?
No.
Well, that's what I was asking, and I guess during this time in the budget, I look at 100%, I think at a minimum, we should extend it to 250 hours, or, you know, send it over, get rid of the cap, I guess, at this point. But I'm also wondering if we could get a fiscal impact of what it would be if they could buy back up to 30 hours or something like that, you know, 40 hours, or because of what we're in.
But what would be the difference? I'd be okay with carrying over.
100%.
But why would you? I mean, if the hours they get, you know, they should get their hours. But I think and you're basically suggesting they can cash it in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, cash it in up to a certain amount of hours. Just wondering what the fiscal impact of that would be. Because some people might need the money at this time because of what's going on in unemployment. And if it's, you know, think about it, you're not giving overtime. If that's coming in, there could be a fiscal benefit, but it's a one-time chunk from the county if we're going to extend the amount over. So that's, I guess, what I'm looking at, is it could end up being a long-term fiscal savings because you wouldn't be paying overtime for it or anything like that. So, but I'd like to see those numbers if possible.
I guess I'd be worried that we didn't do it for the last group, and now we do it for this group. That would worry me a little bit that, you know, it's not consistent, so we let them carry over last 2 years ago, but now we are offering this group a chance to, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but offering this group a chance to sell some back, and we didn't give the previous group that option.
Well, I would be in favor of the opportunity, depending on dollar amounts, to allow employees to buy back unused vacation time. This is a kind of a unique situation, and we're in the midst of a hiring freeze right now for non-essentials, so that could help out some departments that might be shorthanded, you know, and then they have employees wanting to take vacation time that makes them even more shorthanded, and employees might be, personally, not that we get vacation time, but I would kind of be one of those employees who would want to have my time paid to me in cash, and that could help the department if they're already shorthanded. So just because of the unique nature of this time, I think that would be a good suggestion.
But again,
pending dollar amount.
Yeah, exactly. And I would definitely put a cap on it, because if somebody had, I don't know, what the max person has, I'm not willing to give somebody 80 hours, you know, above or anything like that. But again, I would like to see the numbers, is all I'm saying.
So you're saying that 230 employees who will have time to carry over, they might get an option to sell some of that time back.
Yeah, again, I'd like to see the numbers, because there's a possibility, and what's being said is if that, no matter what we're paying the hours, if we extend it over the 250, we're gonna be paying the money.
What about, I'm gonna be devil's advocate.
Hold on one second. But if we're paying them, if we're extending that over, and let's say they're at 290, just to say it's a 40-hour work week, so that we're paying them that 40-hour work week no matter what. If they terminate employment, we're paying them that 40 hours, correct?
If it's over if you would agree to allow an additional carryover and they would terminate employment, then yes, we would be paying them out.
Yeah,
if you did not, then.
Well, I'm saying, so if we extended it, so the 290 they extended, that 40 hours, we're gonna be paying them no matter what.
I understand.
If.
We could, we could say.
Hold on. If they are working and it causes overtime, that 40 hours could cost us more money than if we paid them the normal 40 hours. That's what I'm saying, is that there's possible that we could get a fiscal benefit if we were going to decide to extend it. Because I'll tell you right now, I'm 100% in favor of extending it, because I think the nature that we're in, that they didn't have time to take off, or leave could have been denied because they lots of different things there. I think that our employees, they've been working hard, and they deserve to not be penalized for this easily.
And I agree, but I'm gonna be devil's advocate as always. What about I'm the employee, and I think they get what they deserve, carry it over, pay them, but I'm thinking I'm the employee who didn't know that you might carry this over, so I used up my time, thinking now, oh daggone, if I'd have banked this time, Now, I'd be getting a lump sum of money and I wouldn't have had to take a frivolous week off just because I was afraid I couldn't carry my 250 over. Is that a possibility? But everybody's sort of been off anyway, working at home. So I'm sort of arguing with myself here. But,
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Well, no, Randy brings up some great points there.
I'm just trying to reason out what the whatever we got less than 300, say we got 300 or 290, so there's another 700 employees or 600. What are they thinking? Because they don't have anything to carry over. Daggone, wish I'd have banked it. But then again, we're back to the COVID and we were all working from.
But they also took a vacation, that they had time off and all of that, and that's what it's.
I just want to do what makes everybody
Well, I
somewhat
think it
happy.
would be interesting to know the statistics on who's using vacation time now. Are people working from home, are they taking vacation time, or are they not taking vacation time?
I can only speak for our own department because I don't monitor that, and we are using our vacation as well as sick if we have appointments or whatnot. That's outside the scope of what our work shifts are.
So they're still following the current policy.
But again, I can only speak for our department. I believe if
And
you'd
of those
like, I can-
221 employees that need the possibility of carryover, I mean, is there a way to know how many of those 221 are working from home and how many of them are essential?
That's a good question.
I have a list here that's from the report that Darryl Brown pulled with the projections through 12/31. What I can do is take a look at it as well as reach out to the directors of these departments. And, you know, obviously your patrol and your detention center aren't, but there are other departments that I believe are working from home. So I can get you a breakdown.
Deborah, I have a question also. The last kind of phrase on the fiscal impact, paid out when an employee departs employment from the county.
Mm-hmm.
If we did allow a carryover for employees, could we still cap it at a 250 or whatever that current limit is for employees who may leave office?
You could, I would think you
Does that
could
make
create
sense?
a caveat that should someone leave employment rather than use their hours, that you could not allow those hours in addition to be cashed out.
Kirk, will we be able to check that? I want to make sure that that would be legal. I 100% agree with you. I just don't want a lawsuit in case something like that happens.
Okay, no, certainly. I will follow up on that.
Debbie, you have a request to get some numbers, fiscal impact.
But yeah,
Correct?
The fiscal impact on the buyback of the hours, which departments are teleworking, as well as the follow-up with the labor attorney concerning the catch of you would have to use it rather than be cashed out should you terminate employment.
Okay, Commissioners, any other suggestions for her?
And when's the year end for vacation?
12/31. We run on a calendar year for the benefit, well, for vacation.
Okay, so can we get this back in here soon?
I will leave here and reach out to Budget and Finance to see if they can get us the numbers for the buyback. I'll reach out to the labor attorney that we use concerning the question. Hopefully there's a less than a day turnaround on that.
Okay, Commissioners, okay with that?
that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Tom Brown, citizens participation during open meetings.
There's Tom Brown. I bet you got a lot of hours left over, don't you?
Good morning, Tom Brown, Emergency Manager. Returning today, looking for approval of the attached rules and procedures regarding citizen participation during Board of County Commissioner open session meetings. Hopefully, everybody has the attachment of what those rules and procedures are. Again, just a brief background. March of 2020, public meetings were canceled as gatherings of people could cause a health risk to citizens and county staff due to the COVID-19 pandemic. When commissioner meetings resumed, they remained closed to public attendance. Citizen comments were received and continue to be received via email, mail, or telephone calls to the county clerk. During the September 1st, 2020 Board of County Commissioner open session meeting, staff is directed to create rules and procedures which would safely allow public comment during open session. So, in a nutshell, briefly, the attachment that you have, the rules and procedures will allow for up to 3 citizens to appear before the Board of County Commissioners during open session meetings to provide comment. Citizens are selected on a first-come, first-served basis, providing that they have not made comment within the last 4. And this says open session meetings, but actually, I was noticing when I was sitting there in the back that the actual rules and procedures say the last 4 weeks. Normally, I know Board of County Commissioner open session meetings are every week. Every once in a while, you get like the Labor Day week where they're the meeting. So, but I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned. Citizens will be required to submit to a screening process prior to entering the meeting room. They'll be required to wear a mask at all times while inside the administrative building. And the Board of County Commissioner meetings will continue to remain closed for public attendance. The alternative is to continue with the way in which we're currently doing it, which is encouraging citizens to make contact via telephone, email, or letter.
The only question I have on this is number 7. A waiting list for in-person comment at future meetings will not be maintained. So if we're doing this on a first-come, first-served basis, if Jeff, Randy, and Terry call in, they're the first 3, and then I call number 4. So am I no longer then, or am I going to go to Monday, the next week? And that's my question. When does it open? When does it start? So it says the preceding day.
It says they'll need to make a reservation with the county clerk no later than the close of business on the day preceding the regular meeting at which they wish to speak. So the day preceding that, the first 3 people call in, it's closed. They got the reservation.
Well, I think this is a little bit confusing because it says, no later than the day preceding. So if I call in my meetings today and I call Krista at the end of this meeting, now I'm number 1 on the list, is the way that reads. And so, but if there's no other list, if I'm now the number 4 person, there's no other list, then somebody has to call again at the end of this meeting for the following week.
That's correct.
Okay. I think
we weren't going to hold a list. With it being first come, first serve, it's first come, first serve beginning directly after the meeting. Okay. So instead of holding like number 4 and saying, okay, well, the first 3 went to this meeting, now I got number 4, so number 4 is going to get to go to this next meeting.
If it's all right, I would like to say that they cannot schedule an appointment until after the agenda's been dismissed and preceding the day before. So we don't have somebody calling here right after the meeting for next week and the agenda's not even out. I think it should be from when the agenda has been dismissed to the day preceding, so that there's that block of window. We know when people can come in or when people can call in and go. I guess that's right. So,
and I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make sure that the intent of staff was clear, that we were trying not to, because it's first come, first serve, and trying to stay within the first come, first serve basis. And I think we understand each other.
But if it's okay, if we can reword that so that you can call in after the agenda's been published. So.
Yeah, I like number 8, that keeps, they can come in, give their topic, and not come back every week for the next 6 weeks. But I do, and I just hear what the under commissioners have to say. It almost, no, maybe I'm way off base here, but almost on like 18, 19, 20 down in that, seems like we're sort of censoring what they can talk about. I think maybe public participation, I'll probably be the ones that live to regret this, but maybe public participation should, they say anything they want, within a courtesy manner. I mean, do you guys see it that way, or is that fine?
I marked those same ones. Actually, 18 I'm kind of okay with. I get a lot of calls about like the post office, not in recently, but those are kind of federal issues that I can refer someone to. But I kind of think the issue should be pertaining to county government, something that we might have purview over. But you're right with number 19 and 20. If someone wants to chastise me for a vote, I don't think we should censor. I would agree with that.
They were included after review of what some other counties do
and I think their intent is to provide for a level of decorum and civility in the comments that are made, and to prevent personal attacks on individual commissioners or staff members.
Well, normal commissioner meetings they're permitted to come in and get up and talk. I don't know why we would.
Yeah, I've been hammered before, I guess
Yeah.
I can take it again.
Many times.
Okay, we
So
removing
leave
that one.
18, take 19 and 20 out.
Personally, I think
Take 18, 19, 20 out.
if we're trying to limit the number of people in here but still allow public participation, maybe make it something that's germane to this body.
Yeah.
I think
How
18's
often do we
I
have
think
more than
18's
three
fine.
speakers?
Yeah, and I think, you know, the honor number covers us pretty good, like, number 8, that they can't come in every week and call me a scoundrel. Every 4 weeks they can, but not every week, so.
Well, the whole
Well, I
point
mean,
is it's
they-
first come, first served, to make
Yeah.
sure that everybody has the opportunity.
A different person could come in each week and do that.
Well, that's fine.
And as this evolves, we can adjust.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure people know this is just the beginning. It's like a phase 1 of how we get back to
Hopefully it's the
normal.
beginning of the end.
Yeah,
Yes.
so. Commissioners, thoughts, comments? Any other additions, subtractions?
I'm fine with the adjustments. So
Yeah,
I don't know
I'm good.
if we need to make a motion for this, but.
And we're maintaining our current time limit, I don't see that.
Yeah, 3 minutes. is
Yeah,
correct.
we've
3
always
minutes.
been flexible. I mean, somebody wants to go 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm not gonna scream.
Or in
Would
the
y'all
case of
agree
some,
with
Always
that?
depends on if
15
Jeff
minutes.
likes them or not.
Yeah.
No,
Well-
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And not that this would happen, is this, so everyone's gotta call in, to make an appointment, or is email acceptable?
They need to contact, my understanding is they need to contact the county clerk to make an appointment. Whether it's email
Yeah,
or
but
phone,
that's
but
better.
email would be preferred probably.
But what if they don't have email?
Well,
If they don't have email, they can.
Prefer, gotcha.
So then, I make the motion to approve with, the recommended changes.
The recommended changes are to remove
18, 19, no, 19, 20.
19 and 20.
And
Yep.
then
Email.
email, and then I would say adjust the verbiage that it's open after the, agenda's been published, and close the business of the day before, whatever it needs to be.
Okay, so there's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
First and a second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
I would need a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion to go to closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Thank you.
What are you doing back there?